Hello, Taneikah Anderson, winner of our Sean Michael Stewart Memorial Scholarship for first-year students.
Hi.
Hi, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I just want to ask you, so how did it feel when you got the news that you were the person that had been chosen for the scholarship?
I was super excited when I first saw it. It was like hard to believe because this is my second time going around applying for it. And I was just like, I was just thinking in my head, I was just ready in case there was rejection. I
Mm-hmm.
was just kind of mentally preparing myself for that.
Sure.
But to actually get it, it was just like a shock, and I was just so happy because it was just it just felt like you put so much time in or you put so much work in and then you finally get it. It's just a huge like relief, and it's just an exciting moment.
Great, good for you. And so what did you do? You said you had applied for it before. What did you do that made it different for this time, you think?
This time around, I had more experience just like in life in general. So like I just was doing other stuff that kind of gave me more ideas for my art, and it helped me realize like what kind of artist I wanted to be, and it helped me develop a focus through that time. And I was able to before I used to get like a lot of anxiety over it. I just thought that everything was so much because I didn't know what specific art field I wanted to do, and I thought I had to learn every single thing. But once I got more experience and I learned to like kind of let that go and just draw and just practice and just focus on getting better and the process, then um, it just made it more enjoyable, and it helped me focus more, and I think it helps me improve more rather than just focusing on anxiety and what could be what you're not good at basically.
That's really that's a very good tip, I think, for all of us
Yeah.
doing anything. And since you mentioned, you know, working on what you love and what your passion is, and it sounds like you went more towards that the second time around. Can you talk about what that is in your art, or what inspires you, and maybe what your art is about?
I'm still figuring out my art. I don't believe I'm finished at all.
That's
Like
good.
there's still a long journey.
Hmm.
But right now I know that I love to tell stories and I love to draw. So that's basically what the two key things that I focus on when I'm drawing. I try to see if I can convey something. Like if when someone looks at it, they see a story or they can feel an emotion or something. And also I want it to be something that people enjoy looking at. So I believe my I don't really know exactly what my art is right now, but I
Hmm.
know that it is right now I'm working on drawing stuff that I enjoy that's helping me get better and improve. The more I practice, the more I draw, the better I'll get. So that's my primary focus right now.
Fair enough. I mean, you're young, you've got your whole career ahead of you. So it's probably good to come in with an open mind
Yeah.
instead of this is exactly what I like to do. So, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm wondering why you chose Max the Mutt as the school that you want to go to.
I knew that, well, first of all, I went to the open house.
Hmm.
This was, I think, 2 years ago.
Hmm.
And when I went there, I just really liked the environment. I liked the vibes. It just seemed like a really cool place to be. And when it comes down to it, it's obviously you who matters. Like the work that you put in is how good you're going to be. But at the same time, I just felt like because the environment, like the classes are smaller,
Mhm.
I felt that that would suit me and my personality and the kind of work environment that I want for the future. Like I'd rather I'd rather be my own like an entrepreneur.
Mm.
So I rather work for myself and just being in that kind of environment, in that kind of headspace, but also being able to connect with other people because you're going to have to do that too in your career. You're not going to be able to just stay in a bubble and do one thing. But that's why I picked Max the Mutt, and also seeing all the artwork and just reading about the professors and everything, it just made me super interested. And seeing the programs that they had were super specific
Mhm.
compared to other schools where some things are more general. They have like a whole bunch of art things in one program, and it's just like it's just a lot to process. So I just like having a specific focus on my main interests. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense, and that is why people choose MTM, for all those reasons that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the feedback that we hear is, because I've been doing interviews with alumni, and the feedback is, they make you work really hard, and you do things,
Exactly.
and sometimes you're like, oh, why am I doing this? But then they're like, it makes sense if you want to be
Mhm.
good in this industry, and
Yeah, you
you want
have to.
there's a lot of competition, and
Mm.
and there's to stand out, you have to know these things, and you have to know them well.
Yeah,
So yeah, there's a reason why we do it.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm also, since you mentioned freelance, so imagine yourself in 4 years from now, you're graduating. What is it that you'd like to be doing?
Um, this may change obviously,
Sure.
but I'd like to be doing multiple things actually. I'd like to be developing my own comics. I want to be making my own comics. I want to be selling, like, have my own store where I sell prints and sell my art on t-shirts. Um, those are those are the main things that I want to do, like how I envision myself, mainly as writing books and um, having my own line where I sell my art.
Great.
So
Yeah, that's a good vision to have. It's good to have a vision, and then of course it's going to change as you go. That's
exactly.
life. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so can you just tell me what the diploma program that it is that you're going into?
So I'm going into the illustrative arts program, the sequential arts program.
Yes.
And this is focused on comic books and graphic novels.
Right.
And yeah, I'm super excited to be doing that and learning more about it.
Yeah, that's great. So I also wanted to ask if there's any artists or any, since you mentioned comics, that inspire you.
Oh, definitely. Um, for comics, Aaron Magruder is an inspiration. Um, I started out seeing his series, The Boondocks, the TV show, the animated series,
Hmm.
and I just loved how he incorporated like just all the history and knowledge that he knows, and then creating these characters that embody that. It was just amazing, and I loved the art, like the um the style that
Hmm.
was chosen. It was
Hmm.
just really cool. So that was one inspiration. And then for the illustrative aspect, Pascal Campion was, he's an artist that I've been following for a while, and I just loved his work. I love the colors. I love how he tells stories through his art, and just like everything about it, it just got me hooked. And that's how I knew that, like, okay, this is like, I didn't, when, like earlier on, I didn't quite know exactly what I wanted to do. Like, I knew in my head what I liked, but I didn't know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I saw Pascal Campion's work, I was just like, oh, okay, this is the connection. This is what I like. So it kind of hope it was like the first step to me figuring out what kind of art I liked and what kind of artist I wanted to be. So that was
Wow,
really cool.
that is really cool. It's quite a moment when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's it's and it's really important to have those inspirations, those mentors, and I think that yeah, it's just we need that, it's something to achieve. And then
Mhm.
as you're going towards maybe what inspires you, that's when you're developing yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. So we'll be going online in the fall. I'm
Yeah.
sure you heard by now.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering what, if you can think of like what challenges obviously that poses, but also what opportunities you think that poses for you and for the rest of the students.
Well, being online, of course, you don't get the face-to-face interaction.
Mhm.
Um, and that's a problem depending on your personality. Personally, for me, I think that's fine. Um, like doing stuff from home doesn't really bother me, but at the same time, it would be nice to like also be able to like see your teacher and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or if you don't understand something, it's just it just feels better to be able to talk to them face to face rather than like over a phone or over the computer or whatever. But other than that, I think that it's cool that we still can make it work,
Mhm.
and that when it comes down to it, it's like what you do. So I believe that all of the students can all of us can still become better from working from home. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And just so you know, and the other students too, that we're doing our best to emulate that in-class experience, of course, without
Mhm.
being in class, but having, ways for people to interact, having that teacher-student interaction online. Um,
Yeah.
because we really realize, especially with art, right? It's not usually something that's taught this way, but we've
Yeah,
also had
exactly.
success with our students finishing off their year and with the workshops that we're leading. So just so you know too, that it's something that people are actually doing really well in, and
Yeah,
some
exactly.
people, especially if you're introverted or a little bit shy, they're
Yeah.
like, I actually prefer this. So
Yeah,
it
exactly.
is interesting, right? The
Yeah.
kind of, that's why I said maybe there's opportunities here for
Mhm.
people who, you know, either they have anxiety and they don't even like to leave. This is a way to,
Exactly.
so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
always.
wondering, before we sign off, for anyone in high school, or maybe, someone who's in a gap year, or even someone in a second career, what advice would you give to them who wants to pursue the path that you've pursued, or even going after a scholarship, and like you've said, being rejected? What advice would you give?
I would say to just keep drawing. Like a few years ago, I would ask my uncle, who's an artist, I would ask him about art. I would ask them all the same questions that every other person who wants to be an artist asks. And I would get the same answer over and over and over again. And I knew it too, but it's like you just want to know. And I know, like, even in high school or whatever, it's easy to think, like, people are just good because of talent or because of it's just in them. But to be honest, like the only way that you're gonna get good is by drawing and by practicing and putting the time in. And you have to just prepare yourself for rejection. You just have to mentally say, okay, I'm gonna try for this, and if I get rejected, that's okay. I'm just one step closer to getting something even better. Like, you have to just be in that mindset, and it's okay to be upset or sad or whatever, because it's not fun to be rejected. But once you go through those emotions, then get back at trying to get better and improving. And also, try drawing, don't try focusing on stuff that isn't your interest. Like, if you're interested in comic books, then don't be doing stuff that's like concept art. It just doesn't make, it's not related. I mean, you can do it for fun if it interests you, but at the same time, it's like if they're two different routes, then there's no point in focusing in the thing that that you're not completely interested in. So I would say, and I would also say to find, when you're practicing fundamentals, find a way to make that work your own so that it's more fun for you.
Mm.
So if you need to practice perspective, then maybe draw something in perspective, but add an element that's your own style or that's your own thing to make it more fun for you. And yeah, I would just say to like just keep trying, don't give up, don't think that just one source is the exact truth. Because to be honest, there are a lot of people who have a lot of good information. So take from whoever that you think is really good and analyze it, try it out, apply it, and then see what works for you, and just don't stop. Because the moment you stop is like when it's over. As long as you keep going, eventually you're gonna get better, and you kind of have to think like that. Because there's always going to be an artist who's better than you, and you're always going to be better than
Mm.
someone else. So you just have to imagine that, like, in a year from now, I'm going to be so much better than I am right now. So as long as you think like that and you keep practicing and you don't get down when um there are days where you just don't feel like doing it, like, that's fine. But as long as you get back at it, then that's okay. If you have like one day in the week where you didn't draw at all, don't get hard on yourself. But just as long as you keep the momentum, keep the consistency, then eventually you will get where you want to be. And yeah, even like
Right.
everyone practices. That's the key. Even the masters like Kim Jung-gi, he's always drawing. So if you
Yep.
want to get good, he's an example. He's drawing like 24/7. So draw whenever you can, and that's the main key to
Yeah.
getting better. So that's
Great.
really what I
Yeah.
tell myself. And even when like I don't really even when I'm not listening to myself, it's like I have it in the back of my head until I finally get it in my head and finally start applying what I've been told and
Mm-hmm.
what I know. So
Yeah, well, it seems like you have a really good head on your shoulders, and I think that you sound like a very balanced person too. You recognize that yes, it's about pushing ahead, but to also sometimes you need to give yourself a break too. And it's
exactly.
that
Yeah.
that balancing act that I think is really healthy, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's it's very encouraging for
Mhm.
anyone watching this who wants to pursue this path, like I said, and especially the fact that you did get rejected the first time and you didn't
Yeah.
let that stop you. You're like, no, I'm going to get better and come back at
Yeah.
it. And here
Yeah.
you are. So
Yeah.
congratulations again. It's
Thank you.
uh, you know It's wonderful to meet you this way. Hopefully we'll
Yeah.
meet in person one day.
Yes,
But
exactly.
we'll see you in the fall in some capacity.
Yeah.
So keep drawing and enjoy your summer,
Thank you.
and we'll see you this September. And thanks again for having this conversation with me.
Okay, great. See you next fall.
It sounds good.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye bye.